Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is a summery and romantic flamingo card using the flamingo dies from Elizabeth Craft Designs and lots of coloring with distress inks. So there's the cute die set, and I've die cut all the pieces out using 85-pound white soft finish cardstock and a little piece of rich black soft finish cardstock. So you can see all of them there, and then that little black piece sits on top of the beak, so it's really tiny. But it adds that like black detail to their beak, so pretty cute and really easy to just die cut out in black. I did print out a picture of some flamingos so I'd have some color reference. I know there are different kinds of flamingos and different colors on flamingos. I'm kind of doing this corally pink that, at least according to that photo, are what flamingos in Aruba look like apparently. So I've got my mini distress inks and my little mini blending tool, and I'm going to start off with abandoned coral. And so I'm just going to go from the craft mat onto the die cut in like a circular motion to add color to the body. And it does take a little while to build up the color. The 85-pound soft finish cardstock has like a texture to it, so it takes a little bit to kind of get through that texture and add the color, but it holds up really nicely, and it really works well with the distress inks. I think partly because of the weight and the texture of it. And then there's the wing piece that I'm kind of skipping, so I don't have to color that in. I'm just concentrating on the body. And in the photo, it looked like the body was a lot darker than the wing, so I'm purposely trying to go with that. And after I finish coating it with coral, I'm going to go to the wing here and do a kind of a light coat on this. And then I'm taking like the edge of my blending tool, and there are these little feather details that are embossed on the wing. And so I'm trying to follow those with the edge of my blending tool to add sort of, I don't know, some like splotchy texture, like darker patches with the abandoned coral to kind of hopefully make it look a little bit like feathers. And now I'm going to go back over the body with picked raspberry to try to get kind of a pinky coral rather than just a straight coral. And again, I'm like sort of coloring the body darker than I will wind up coloring the wings. And just blending on the same way, nothing fancy, just to get a good coat of color across the body. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the edge of the tool to kind of add on some more little splotchy details to hopefully add to the look of feathers on that wing. And I will darken the body down just a hair more with some abandoned coral, but I didn't figure you really needed to watch me do that again. And now I'm going to do the legs. So the legs in the photo were a lot pinker than the body. And then you can see like their knees, I guess, and their feet are much pinker than the rest of the legs. And then there's definitely like a gray cast over them. So I'm kind of coating the whole thing with picked raspberry, and I'm using the edge of my tool to really darken down like the knees and the feet. And then once I get those pretty well covered, I'm going to take some hickory smoke and I'm going to coat the whole thing to give them kind of a gray look. And they will get a little bit grayer on the feet and the joints than the rest of the legs, just naturally. And I will color the smaller flamingo exactly the same way, so you won't need to see me do it twice, I don't think. But I'm using the exact same distress inks and the same techniques on the smaller flamingo too. And you can see that white piece fits over the face and has the spot for the eye cut out, and then the little black beak goes on top. And in the photo, there was a little bit of coral right above the black part in that white section of the flamingo's face, I guess. So I'm taking a brush and dipping it in water, and I went direct to the craft mat with the abandoned coral, and I'm just picking that up with some water and just kind of coloring it on just above where the black part hits the top of the white to give it that little bit of the corally spot on his face. And now I'm just blending out with a little bit of water on his body. And that was kind of a mistake because I decided to add these black details on the feathers. And when I did that, the paper was wet. And so the black just kind of bled out. So I will wind up fixing that with a Copic liner and a white glaze pen, you'll see here in a second, which really improved the look. So there you see, I took my white glaze pen and I fixed it. Now, as I mentioned, those little embossed feathers on the wing, I I kind of went along one edge of each of those with the white glaze pen. And then I added this sort of feathered detail to the bodies, just like I'm doing here. So longer strokes on the body and then shorter strokes as I went up the neck and into the head, to just give it a little bit of, I don't know, feathery texture and lighten them up just a touch. And now I'm going to just glue all the tiny pieces onto the major die cuts with Zig 2A glue pen. So the white part of the beak goes on first, and then the black piece layers over that. So it gives it a really like sort of dimensional look for the face. Now I had a hard time getting this perfectly lined up. I probably could have taken a little more time, but what I wound up doing was taking a black marker and just going along the edge where the black was meeting the body, just to, you know, make the whole thing nice and neat looking and sort of black edged, if that makes sense. And now I'm just gluing the legs onto the body, and then I will glue the wing onto the body as well. And hopefully you can see how that Copic liner like really helped that black smudgy detail on the body for that guy. And then I took my white glaze pen and I went into the eyeball and I just dotted right in the center, so there was a little bit of a pink outline around it. Now for my background, I'm using the Distressing Says watercolor. So as you can see, I stuck the antique linen directly on the craft mat, and now I'm just adding water, and I'm using a wide brush, and I'm just sweeping straight across from left to right with the color and the water to just basically create a wash of that color across the bottom to look like sand. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with tumbled glass across the top to look like sky. And then I'm going to do the middle with 3 different colors. So this is Mermaid Lagoon, so this is going to be water meeting the sand. So it does overlap a little bit, and that was kind of good. It made a good like water hitting the sand effect. Then Salty Ocean is the second color that's going a little bit darker, so I'm blending those two together. And then here's Blueprint Sketch, where I'm going to overlap the sky just a touch, and then overlap the Salty Ocean, and then kind of go back and forth with the 3 colors to get like a nice dimensional blend from light to dark. And then I'm taking the edge of my brush and I'm just going straight across to kind of create lines. And so I used, you know, each of the, like, Blueprint Sketch towards the back, Salty Ocean in the middle, Mermaid Lagoon towards the front. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the antique linen to just get this sort of streaky, swipey effect across the sand to add a little bit of dimension to the scene. And here are all my components now. I have an A2 size top folding card base made from 100-pound white soft vintage cardstock. I have stuck a piece of Gina K Designs Passionate Pink cardstock on front of that. Then this is a piece of grass green Gina K Designs cardstock cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So I have a 16 of an inch border of pink. I die cut this piece of 85-pound white soft finish cardstock with the second largest die in the Postage stamp rectangles die. I stamped a sentiment, "We Flamingo Together" from Beach Sentiments in archival jet black ink, and I die cut that out with the second smallest die in the dotted Scallop circles die set. And there are my flamingos. And you will notice I have added some black eyeballs to them. Now, flamingos don't actually have black eyeballs, but I felt like I needed it to kind of finish them off. So I made it so that the taller guy is looking down and the shorter guy is looking up. So they're kind of looking at each other with that black glaze pen. And then I trimmed the watercolor piece down to 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 to fit just inside that postage stamp rectangle, so it creates like a postage stamp frame. And now you can see I'm just layering them all together on the front of the card using 10mm clear double-sided adhesive tape. Really, really easy. And now I've added 3mm and 6mm adhesive to the back of the flamingos, and now I'm just taking some brushed corduroy and my skinny brush, and I'm adding shading under where they're standing on the sand. And now I'm going to peel off the backing on the tape that's on the back of these guys, and I will use Zig 2A glue pen on their legs to adhere them down, and his leg comes off, but I'll fix that in a second. Now they do kind of purposely go outside the frame, but I liked that. I thought it looked kind of cool and it was kind of fun. So that didn't bother me at all. And there I grouped them together, and then there's the greeting that's popped up on foam tape going in the lower left. And then of course I had to add some sparkle, because I can't not have sparkle on a card. There's a double negative for you. So I've got my Clear Spectrum Noir sparkle marker, and I'm just adding that to the dotted scalloped edge of the greeting, and then the postcard edge frame, that's the white piece. all the way around the scene very carefully. And then it was just enough sparkle to be like pretty, but without being too crazy glittery, just in the event you might be giving this to a man, for example. And that is the completed project, and I just love those flamingos. I think like coloring all the pieces and then sort of paper piecing them together really makes a difference, and they look so dimensional and cool, and they're just so fun for summer. So how can you resist flamingos? And so I hope I've inspired you today to try out those flamingos as well as your distress inks, to color and paper piece some die cuts together, as well as creating a watercolory background scene. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, and as always, leave me a comment because I love getting comments, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that yet as well. I would really appreciate that. Here are 2 more videos I have done in the past, so check those out. And thanks so much. Have an amazing day.